Shalom, family. This is Peter Michael Martinez, and thank you for joining us here at Remnant House, the home of the strong and the very courageous. And this message is for all who call upon the name of Yahuwah Elohim in sincerity, living in these perilous days. Today I want to talk to you about slander, the wicked voice of the serpent. As the world devolves into greater and greater conflict, the forces of darkness continue to gain vessels through which they can work their ancient craft of evil. Few understand the way evil works despite the clear teaching of Scripture. The Apostle James gives us an insight that few truly respect and understand concerning how evil spirits bring about their wicked results. He writes to all the remnant of Yasharel throughout the known world to give this dire warning. In James 3 and verse 16 he says, "For where envying and strife is, there is confusion and every evil work." This simple statement explains the way our adversary, the devil, and his demon horde work to bring about the demise of men through the ages. This tactic was used in the first recorded interaction between the serpent and mankind. In the Garden of Eden, we see that in the very first encounter with this ancient evil, mankind was deceived into sin, which continues to this day. We've all heard the ancient tactic of conquerors called divide and conquer, and it was in Eden that it was first employed. The ancient conversation is recorded in the Holy Scriptures so that we can learn from this interaction. Eve converses with the serpent, who boldly and brazenly declares word contrary to the word given by the Creator, Yahuwah Elohim. The serpent engages Eve with a subtle trick that many continue to fall for to this day. The tactic may be easy to understand, but it is employed against the word of Elohim with great effect with those whom do not guard the ancient precepts of freedom. In Genesis chapter 3 and verse 1, we read that the serpent begins the engagement with what seems to be an innocent question. This is the bait that most do not realize is always the way this tactic is employed. By asking for a clarification of the command, he got Eve talking. It seemed innocent enough to share what the clear command of Elohim was. While her answer was indeed correct, as Yahuwah Elohim had instructed them, the serpent was not deterred by the clear command of Scripture. His angst against the Most High Elohim would emerge in one declaration. "You shall not surely die," said the serpent with brazen disregard for Yahuwah Elohim. "For Elohim doth know that in the day you eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil." Most can easily now see that the serpent was lying. What you may not have noticed is the slander. This is an accusation that Yahuwah Elohim had deceived the first couple, and here was the serpent to liberate them from the prison of Eden. Here we see the principle of envy and strife bringing confusion in full display. Despite accurately retelling the command of Elohim, the innocent are not prepared for the subtlety of the serpent. He knows a principle of the kingdom that they are unaware of, and is taking advantage of their ignorance, of course. He has leveled accusation against the Most High without witnesses or confirmation. He just makes a statement that is false, but since these do not yet understand the statutes of heaven, they do not stand. Rather than follow any investigative procedure, seek any form of confirmation, or review witnesses of any kind, these two believed only the report of the serpent alone, one witness, and they ate. We all know the result was judgment and banishment from the Garden of Eden. The serpent knew full well this would be the result, as it had already happened to him. So is the case with slander. It is used to great effect to draw the innocent away from the protection and provision of Elohim into slavery. Slander is defined as oral communication of false and malicious statements that damage the reputation of another, a false and malicious statement or report about someone. We see that the serpent has made false statements about the character of Yahuwah Elohim in his rebuttal to Eve, claiming that he had deceived them to deprive them of benefits. You'll notice that no alternative garden, provision, protection, or blessing was offered in exchange for the place they would be leaving, as the serpent had no such things to offer. All he did was sow discord between Yahuwah Elohim and mankind without having to prove a thing. This Yahuwah hates, and the serpent knew that very well. The results were catastrophic, as they always are for those who fall for this ancient device of evil. Now, had Adam and Eve known the principles of the kingdom of Elohim, how should this have been dealt with? Recorded in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 19 and verse 15, we read a maxim of kingdom law that reads, "One mouth shall not rise up against a man for any iniquity or for any sin. In any sin that he sinneth, at the mouth of 2 witnesses, or at the mouth of 3 witnesses, shall the matter be established." So the word of the serpent was insufficient by himself to conclude the matter, and should have been rejected as hearsay and admissible. 1 witness is not enough. Rather than standing in agreement with the word of Elohim, judgment against Yahuwah was manifested in their disobedience, as they agreed with the serpent in eating the forbidden fruit. And so it has been ever since. This subtle tactic has been used to great effect to continue to enslave generations of people who continue to believe and follow the words of the fallen into despair, ruin, judgment, and then death. We have all seen this tactic employed all around us as people act on information they have not vetted or confirmed. Once they do, they defend their choice after the fact in an effort to validate the choice, but the results never change. What Adam and Eve did not know but would learn through experience was that the evil serpent was sowing discord to bring about strife. In so doing, he brought about confusion and then every evil work. Through the house of Yasarel, the word of Yahuwah Elohim was given to provide the way of escape from this cycle of divide and conquer. Man would now understand that if he would adhere to the perfect law of liberty and not fall for the slander of the enemy, the serpent would flee. In modern times, as men have forgotten or never learned the principles of the kingdom of Elohim, they are mercilessly attacked by wicked spirits who are bent on the continued slavery of mankind. Slander and defamation is used to great effect to draw the innocent into wickedness in every generation. These spirits cause one to fall into envy and strife, where every evil will work. How many children have been lured into sin by those undermining their parents using the same tactics? By slanderously painting the parents as controlling and too restrictive, the tempters are able to elicit disobedience and cause devastating harm to families. How many friendships, businesses, and even churches have been attacked to great effect by this oft-repeated tactic? Too many to number. By the time the victim realizes that they were deceived by one with the spirit of the serpent, the damage is already done, and the sacred thing is lost through this subtle but effective wicked strategy. When confronted by temptation in the wilderness, Messiah demonstrates the correct manner in dealing with the slanderer when he declared 3 times, "It is written. Armed with the principles of the kingdom, a disciple of Messiah is not easily conquered by this evil tactic. Knowing that there will be times of offenses and trespasses, Messiah gives a simple legal process through which authentic disciples would mitigate disputes and thereby avoid the violation of the scriptural principle of witnesses. Indeed, he calls his disciples witnesses so that they can process the concept personally and permanently in their thinking. A witness is defined as one that gives evidence specifically, one who testifies in a cause or before a judicial tribunal. Notice that this is not just blatant public statements or defamation, but a process that involves rules of civil procedure outlined in the Scripture to protect the innocent from false accusation. Many a reputation has been irreparably damaged by those engaging in slander, even if the charges are proven false, because the tactic of defamation was used to affect the public. Just the accusation alone can cause devastating harm to lives which the serpent knows full well. This was attempted mercilessly against Messiah and was effective in causing many to doubt the very one who came to save them. In Matthew 18, Messiah instructs all disciples on how to resolve matters without falling for this trick of the serpent, which, if followed, would prevent every evil work in their midst. The Ruach in the disciple makes them servants of their brethren and never accusers or defamers. In Matthew 18 and verse 15 we read, "If thy brother shall trespass against thee, go and tell him his fault between thee and him alone. And if he shall hear thee, thou hast gained thy brother." Here we see embedded in this principle the heart of reconciliation and unity as described in Psalm 133, where Elohim commands the blessing, even life, evermore. Notice that at no place in that principle is there any public involved. The disciple is taught that the first step in resolving a matter is to go directly to the person whom has committed the trespass. When you see this principle violated, you are witnessing one operating in the spirit of the serpent. There are no exceptions. In the case of the serpent in the garden, his issue was with Yahuwah Elohim. He went to Adam and Eve and accused the Most High of deceit and got them to bite into his thinking, literally. If Adam and Eve had instead demanded 2 and 3 witnesses to confirm this accusation, the story would have gone very differently. Messiah outlines that the first step is to seek to resolve a matter by direct communication with the offending party. There are no exceptions provided. If an attempt to bring reconciliation fails, then the subsequent step is based on the principle outlined in Deuteronomy 19. Matthew 18:16 reads, "But if he will not hear thee, then take with thee 1 or 2 more, that in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses every word may be established." This legal procedure, derived squarely from Deuteronomy 19, is exclusively for disciples of Messiah who are in the kingdom of Elohim. The inability to follow the command of Messiah, our Rabbi, reveals the impostors in your midst. This simple procedure marks a difference between the true disciples and impostors who may hide in the midst of true disciples as tares among the wheat. Those with the Torah of Elohim written in their heart and mind would rather cut off their foot than violate his clear commands. The impostors are not so. So vile is the serpent that he cannot allow reconciliation, but instead is bent on making his own disciples of hell. They will pay only lip service to Messiah's words, but as he himself declares, their hearts are far from me, and they will violate this procedure just as sure as the serpent spirit within them dictates. In the time of Messiah's first coming, we see the Pharisees employing the serpent tactics against Messiah and the disciples through the use of slander and false accusation almost continually. Messiah does not mince words concerning those through whom the spirit of the serpent speaks. In Matthew 23 and verses 32 and 33, he says, "Fill ye up then the measure of your fathers, ye serpents, ye generation of vipers. How can you escape the damnation of hell?" Messiah gives no quarter to these who are operating in the spirit of the accuser, the spirit of the serpent. He calls them children of the serpent and therefore serpents themselves, a generation of vipers. He makes clear that these are the very ones that would follow the same exact tactics used by the serpent in the garden with the same intention, the expulsion of all who follow from the kingdom of Elohim. Here Messiah makes clear what the true motive of the secret communication, private message about another, or public blasting of offenses really is. These who are filled with the condemned spirit of the serpent will cause others to be expelled as well. In this way, they hope to build their case against Yahuwah Elohim, who has pronounced judgment on the serpent and sentenced him and all who follow to hell. Messiah says in Matthew 23 and verse 13, "But woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you shut up the kingdom of heaven against men. For you neither go in yourselves, neither suffer ye them that are entering to go in." Here he reveals the envy of the devil and his intention to create his own disciples that will multiply strife and discord throughout the earth. This is the power of slander and defamation. It causes the innocent who are simple-hearted to be deceived by these wicked gatekeepers who consider it their business to always bar the gates of the kingdom. These slanderers take the posture of moral superiority and high station to bring their slanderous accusations against the kingdom of Elohim and his anointed. Messiah warns that, like the serpent in the garden, they take the posture of helping the innocent to make an informed choice, but in reality, they have a different agenda that is only realized once the innocent have fallen victim of the lies. Messiah exposes their true goal that they do not reveal to the innocent victim of their slander campaign. In Matthew 18 and verse 15, he states clearly, "Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye compass sea and land to make one proselyte, and when he is made, ye make him twofold more the child of hell than yourselves." Messiah exposes their real motive. They want their own disciples and students who will walk the same way they do. Once bitten by this serpent venom, the proselyte will be even worse than their rabbi and will follow the same tactics of slander and defamation, resulting in their demise in hell. And for this reason, Messiah states clear warning to the disciples who wish to remain venom-free in this hostile environment. "Be ye not called rabbi, for one is your master, even Mashiach, and all ye are brethren." This principle decimates the posturing of the slandering serpent who cannot resist positioning himself as the teacher who has come to enlighten the innocent. With only one rabbi, Messiah Yahushua, his words are final and conclusive. He is the final authority, and he commands us to love one another as ourselves. This the serpent and his disciples simply cannot do, and this will be their tell. While they may feign love through outward appearances, inwardly they are ravening wolves. In today's modern world, they are multiplied. These are described as brute beasts, meant to be taken and destroyed, for their own words will condemn them. By contrast, there is a remnant that walk in the love of Messiah, whom seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, his ways. While these are not many, they remain on the earth as witnesses of the truth of the good news of the kingdom of Elohim and his word. Indeed, they are his witnesses throughout the earth, bearing witness that Yahuwah Elohim is true. The Nazarene are those who hear the word of Elohim and keep it sincerely and humbly in every generation. This is the remnant spoken of in the scripture that stands against the dragon, that serpent called the devil, and all who follow the wicked tactics of evil in slander. It is not the accusers and slanderers and defamers that win the case before the throne. It is to the remnant, the Nazarene, a judgment is rendered by Yahuwah Elohim. In Revelation chapter 12 and verse 10 we read, "And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, Now is come salvation and strength and the kingdom of our Elohim and the power of his Mashiach. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our Elohim day and night." Knowing this, the sanctified ones with the Torah in their hearts and minds endure this present world and demonstrate continually that his word reigns over their mortal bodies and governs their hearts. In love, the Nazarene prefer one another and consider one another higher than themselves, always serving and helping one another, bearing one another's burden, and so fulfill the law of the Messiah. In Revelation 14 and verse 12 it says, "Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of Elohim and the faith of Yahushua." So if you're getting private communication, back channel advice against your brother or sister, and you tell the person to go to their brother, and they do not, you now know what you're dealing with. Those with the Ruach of Elohim would obey and go to their brother or sister in a heart of reconciliation. When that is not what you see, but instead a disdain, incensed with anger or malice, with no love for their brother or sister, you know that person is contaminated by the bite of the serpent. Whether or not they realize it, they have now the spirit that is against the word of Messiah. It is the spirit of Antichrist operating in them. All the Nazarene, the remnant, are of the same Ruach, seeking first his kingdom and his righteousness. Thank you so much for joining us. Shalom to all your houses in the name of Yahushua. And remember, Yahushua HaMashiach, he alone is King of Kings.